Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back.
Hi.
Welcome back to Hive Live, broadcasting from Safety Bay in Western Australia. We're just about 45 hours south of Perth, Australia. My name's Sage Hayes. I've been hosting Hive Live over the past month and a half. And I think this is the 25th interview, I think, in the past month and a half. And this interview, this is Leah Fewster. You say hi.
Hello.
She's going to introduce herself in a minute. But I just want to say, I know it's a little dark, but we wanted to be outside, so I hope that's okay for y'all. This interview in particular is really special for me because Leah was somebody who kind of was part of the vision of the Hive directory.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't told you this.
No, you haven't. Okay, this is new to me.
Yes, totally. Last fall, I was in Nova Scotia assisting a somatic experiencing training, and hi Sochi, hi Tay. Last fall, I was assisting a somatic experiencing training in Nova Scotia, and I met this amazing art therapist. Her name is Sally Hutchinson. She's from Nova Scotia, Canada.
Oh my God, I know Sally.
I know you know her. Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
That's right. You teed us up, didn't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she was doing all this amazing art therapy work with women and survivors, and I thought, and I had just met Leah, you, last August when I came to Perth to be part of somatic experiencing, and I had been following you on Facebook and could see that you were doing so much powerful work around art and healing and therapy. And I thought to myself, Sally and Leah need to know each other. Like, it really would make sense because they're doing really similar work, and it would be so exciting if they could connect. And it was really from that idea that I thought I should start a directory so people can, like, people who are doing the same work can connect, because it's not always, because usually if you're doing something like healing and shamanism and trauma work, like, you're kind of out there on your own a lot because you're sort of a pioneer in the healing arts.
Absolutely.
And so the Hive directory is really this thing that I'm sort of working on creating to be able so that practitioners can connect across the globe and share stories and like activities and things like that. So I just want to say what an honor it is to be back here in Australia, to be in Safety Bay with Leah at her home, which is incredible. It's such an honor to be here. And thank you for the part that you've been playing in creating what I'm doing right now.
Oh, and thank you for facilitating this, Sage, and opening this space for me to be a part of this project. I'm really honoured. And I just have to say, I love the name, The Hive. It's so apt because looking at the bee and the kind of archetypal nature of the bee and how the bees pollinate and then allow the flowers to grow. And so it's all about community and kind of pollination and coming together in community and sharing and it's really something special. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. I just realized one thing I didn't ask you is just to speak up a little bit, because so it comes in clearly. It's totally fine how you were, but I think even a little louder. So you're welcome. You guys, welcome back. Really happy to be here. And Leah, got a chance to meet you last August, and then I kind of got to watch your journey, a little bit of your learning shamanic work and your art, your passion around art and healing. And so I just knew from the start that you would be somebody who I'd really want to interview, because I really love the medicine that you're bringing to the world, and I love the medicine that you're bringing to this part of the world. So again, thanks for being on. And usually the question I start with is just like, before we get into your work, like, give us a little snapshot about who you are. And,
wow.
You know, like, I know, and it's like, exactly.
We're trying to have long.
No, exactly. In like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
so, that's yours.
Cool. All right. So I was born in Rockingham, which we're here now, and I grew up in Mandurah. I left home at quite a young age. I just, for the reason actually that when I was in primary school, I had epilepsy, so I found I had quite a hard time in school, and I didn't feel like I fit in it anywhere. So I was driven to find, I suppose, people that I belonged with, and that took me on an entire journey, and I spent time on the streets and kind of hustled my way around, and Yeah, I ended up on drugs and in domestic violence relationships, and yeah, and kind of I met my kid's dad, who he is Aboriginal, and I had my two sons. But yeah, I went through a major trauma when I was 19. I had my eldest son at 17 when I was 17, and my youngest at 19. And when I was 19, I had a car accident, and I lost my arm in a car accident. And so that was huge. That was massive at that age. And it was interesting because my whole journey has been about kind of the body for me, whereas I've found that I haven't accepted my body, and I've kind of had these things that have come up in my life, and that have taken me out of my body. So I've...
Right, because epilepsy.
Yeah.
Right, and then belonging.
Yes.
Right, like not feeling like you belong, which brings us right out of our body when we feel
totally.
like we don't belong where we are.
Yes.
And then that brought you into situations that maybe don't sound like they were the most like safe or
So my
helpful.
body was not my own.
Yeah, your body was not your own.
It wasn't my own for many years. So a lot of trauma happened around that, because I would just give myself away to other people and to be accepted. And in the same year that I lost my arm, it was 8 months after, I was almost murdered in front of my children, stabbed many times. And so I was 19, and after that I went to rehab, and I was in Serenian House rehab for 8 months, and and then I left rehab and kind of went out on my own with my children, and ever since it kind of reframed everything for me, and ever since I've been, what it did was it previously my journey was externalized, and going through that trauma started internalizing my journey, which was so necessary for me. And
can I just do you mind if I pause you? Because
Yeah,
I
that's
often
fine.
pause people. So
That's fine.
Okay,
I'm trying to sum this up in-
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So then, great. So was there can you just say what was one of the turning points where, I mean, obviously you were way deep.
Yeah.
In some of the shadow.
Yes. Totally.
Understandably.
The underworld.
Yeah, the underworld, right?
For sure.
And then you had these two boys, and you had these very traumatic experiences, and in your memory, what's one thing that really contributed to the shift for you to start to journey out of the underworld?
Okay, so it would be my two boys.
Yeah.
Even though I was kind of there, but having my two boys and knowing that I was responsible for these two people, that was huge for me.
So
And,
being a mama, being a parent, being responsible.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was huge. And then going through the trauma, the events that happened, that occurred, that was a big shift. I think for many, it could have gone two ways. It could have kind of gone in a way, whereas I kind of, for me, I went through the trauma and I used it as leverage.
Yeah.
So I used it and I thought, I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
And
what do you mean leverage? You used it as a opportunity to grow? I just want to get clear on what that meant for you,
Yes,
because I think
okay,
it's
cool.
really interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's such a powerful choice.
Yeah, totally.
When you're in that deep.
So where I was the fact that, okay, this has happened to me. There was a thought of, no one's going to accept me now. I have to accept myself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So nothing's going to destroy me. I need to rise above this. And I was very fortunate, whereas my mum, she didn't baby me. She was quite strong with me, and she said to me, Leah, you have children. You've got to get over this. You've got to move forward. You've got to be a mum. She helped me, but she also allowed me to have space to be on my own, to be able to rise. So it really triggered something within me. And what it did is, again, it internalized my experience. And for the first time, I started looking inside.
Wow.
Instead of externally, and there was a lot of peace that come from that.
Wow.
So in one aspect, it was very difficult for me, but it was kind of like changing direction.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like moving direction from looking outside to these people and to the institutions, to starting to look inside, which is, I started discovering a world in here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it sounds like your mom was pretty instrumental in that.
Totally.
She just was come on, like you got to do it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah, she didn't baby me.
Yeah. Right, wasn't quite maybe that quite nice. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, amazing, right? So you had that sort of support in a very, like, kind of
in a tough way.
In a tough way.
Love.
Tough love. Yeah.
Tough love.
But
yeah.
but that was helpful.
That was helpful for me at the time.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah.
So leverage meaning, so you were able to go in and then start to find some traction.
Yes, it was the event that I needed to change my life. So I believe if that didn't happen in that year, I believe that my life would be entirely different right now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel blessed to, in a way, to experience that and to be able to transform, I suppose, transcend the story of what could have been if I kind of kept continuing down that journey, that road. Oh, look who's joined us.
Look who's here.
Titan.
It's Titan. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I always kind of wonder, like, it's such a moment in a story, like in a life, to me, I'm always like, how is it that one person has that turning point and another person doesn't, you know? And I don't know the answer to that question, but...
And it comes down to resilience too.
Yeah, say more.
I have a lot of resilience. To be honest, I'm kind of... Resilience, it's like, I'm just wondering if if we're wired kind of with a certain point of resilience, or if it's something that we are kind of taught when we're growing up. I think it's a little bit of both, really.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I have a lot of resilience, and I also realised through this journey that even though it was a literal death of an old me, I started journeying into a new me. So it kind of it got me thinking that we have many worlds that reside within us, and there's many doorways. So we can go through something very traumatic, and we can kind of approach the boundary of that experience, and we can feel like it's crippling and that we can't go on any further. But then there's always that door that's present. And saying, come on in, there's something new here for you. You've kind of explored what I call kind of a pool of consciousness or a pool of experience. You've explored this, and you've explored the territory. You're kind of at the boundary now, and you need to walk through.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a beautiful reminder how, like, I just love the affirmation of resilience, because all of us wouldn't be here if there weren't so many beings behind us who have been resilient. So, like,
totally.
you know, like in all of our immigration stories and all of the wars our people have been through, just that is so built into us.
Oh, totally. And it also, exactly what you said, it comes from our ancestors as well, our family line, and also the society that we live in shapes our resilience, and also shapes our nervous system and the way we're responding to different events and situations. So I'm quite proud of myself, because I'm at a stage now where I've transcended my story, the emotions, and kind of the I suppose I've transcended the story on many different layers and levels, many layers. It's not linear, and that's been the beauty of it, to be honest, is transcending my story.
What does that even mean, like, for you? Like,
it's
when you say
it's a phenomenon. Is that how I say that word?
Phenomenon.
Phenomena.
Yeah, phenomena. Yeah.
Trying to spit my words out here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. It truly is, and we create these stories, and they're kind of easy, and we go, not easy in a sense, but kind of we go through the motions of creating these stories. But the beauty way is when we start to unravel the story, and what that kind of connects us to, and so for me, a lot of the thing has been journeying within, which has taken me into my emotional body, my psyche. It's taken me into my physical body, which is all consciousness, and I've witnessed releasing of memories which come with. When the memory is held within, it's like you're there again. It's like it's not just the memory of seeing, but you can feel the sensations of, for example, the seat that you're sitting on, and the smells come out of your body with that, because it's all held in here. And and within here it's archetypal. So there you are introduced to many different archetypal energies that you didn't know exist. And I kind of, one of my journeys is working with my soul. So, and working with the archetypal natures of my soul and bringing them into dialogue and into play with my healing journey.
Can you give me an example
Okay.
of that?
I would love to, and I'm so bummed out. I created a beautiful spirit doll of a lady named Nanga, and she is an Aboriginal lady. She's from Northern Australia. Nanga is me, and I am Nanga. She's an aspect of my soul. I was Nanga in a previous lifetime. I think the work that I've been doing it has come to a point where it's been so deep where I've opened up a doorway. It's kind of an energetic kind of doorway or portal to allow her energy to come through. So how this appeared and kind of manifested previously, she come through about 6 months ago. But before that, I had an Aboriginal man coming to me, a lawman, a very dark lawman from up north also. And he stands holding a spear and with one leg propped up against the other and a red loincloth with law scars, so he'd been through the law. And my 2 children are Aboriginal boys, and I've been noticing for some time that there's many different kind of energies coming around me from my boys and calling them back to their culture. So I kind of thought that man was there just reminding me that he's waiting. But not long after that, I had a healing, and Nanga come through in the healing, and so the healing was with my soulscape, and she come through in my soulscape, and after I had the healing, she come through quite often. So I would see her in my mind's eye, or I would do a shamanic healing and she'd come through. I may be doing some drumming and she'd come through, and I would just start wailing like an Aboriginal woman. And it's just so beautiful because it just comes so naturally. And another kind of example is I did some healing for my younger self in the dreaming wheel, and Nanga come through and took my younger self and took her from a desolate landscape into this beautiful lush landscape, and she always holds a ceremonial bowl, and in that bowl can be anything, medicines, any type of medicines. And she took my younger self and she's taken her for healing. But what I realized was that my younger self and Nanga are 2 aspects of myself, my soul, coming together to heal me in the now, which is just fabulous. And the Aboriginal man that was coming through, the lawman, was actually Nanga's husband. And I'm having recollections of a past life in being Nanga and living off the land. So I'm retrieving a past life. I'm retrieving an aspect of my soul, and I believe that the soul is connected to the collective consciousness. The soul, we are everything. We've been everything. For me, I believe that the angelic energies, they're all part of our soul. So, for example, Archangel Michael, for example, he's a part of my soul. I am him, he is me, and he comes through. And then we have the oversoul, the collective consciousness. So, and this is all made up of these archetypal energies. So when we're ready for something and we're attracting something, we're setting intention, which is so strong, and we're magnetic beings. I believe that we're pulling that energy in. So we're actually ourselves healing ourselves.
So cool.
if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Aspects of ourselves healing ourselves.
Yeah. So
well, it's not linear. So to the brain, it's a little boggling, right? But to the non-linear aspect of our part of ourselves that really understands those things, it very much makes sense.
Totally. And what's really important here, I'm glad you mentioned the brain, because at times when we find our brain is boggling, it's really important to realize that the layers that make us, that make up a human being, and we've got that's my dog. We've got the emotional layers and the layers of the psyche, and we've got the body layers and the energetic layers. We've got the mind, and that's another layer in itself. Reece, would you like to say hi?
Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too. We're on an interview if you want to say hi to folks out there.
Hello.
I can't see you.
You can come around. You want to introduce them?
Hi guys.
This is my son Reece.
Nice to see you.
Yeah,
You too.
we just come back from the beach.
Mm.
So, what's important to remember is the mind. The mind is very complex, as you know. But I find that talking to the mind and reassuring the mind and letting the mind know that thank you for your input here, and I know that you're trying to protect me, or you're trying to that you're trying to understand this situation. So because the mind's all about categorizing and I suppose understanding, and the mind is also about boundaries and
Trying to make sense of things.
yeah, trying to make sense of things. It's kind of where are we in this world, you
Yeah,
know? It's
yeah.
Relating.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about talking to the mind and saying thank you for your input, but thank you for your input, but it's something I need to work with my emotions here, and my emotions, or I need to work with my body here. I need to invite my body's consciousness to be present, and asking the mind if it can just step back just for a little bit so that you can connect with your body or with your emotions. So dialoguing with that part of yourself, because we are consciousness. I think there's this idea that we don't have a say in our lives. We kind of don't have any sense of control in our lives because we are governed by so many different things. And I think it's a shame that just the people overlook the fact that, wow, we're these miraculous beings, you know, we're here, we're these highly intelligent organisms, and we kind of downplay that.
Right.
It's like
we get so caught up
we
in
have
so many
this-
other things.
yeah, we have this brain here, but we don't just have a brain here. We have a brain in our heart. We have a gut brain.
Yeah.
We have a body brain. Our nervous system is a brain. We have all these brains, but we don't use them.
Right.
So we can start playing with that.
Right. And there's so much to play with. And when we start to, I love that you sort of talk to your mind and sort of
Yeah.
say like, okay, like thank you for that, and like
Yeah, totally.
there's a lot of other things here that want to come through.
Yeah.
So like let's just like, you know, sort of hang back a little bit.
Yeah,
And, like let's
totally.
see what else can happen.
Yeah, you explain it so well.
No, you explain it so well, and I just feel like I'm feeling you and loving how much you're sort of covering the territory of
Yeah.
the possibility right now of being a human on this planet, which is so challenging but also so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so phenomenal. Like going back to the word phenomenal,
Oh,
phenomena,
yeah.
like that we're still here, that we're resilient, and that while there, in ways it's a mess, there's also ways like I mean, there's so much hope and beauty and possibility, and
Absolutely.
particularly in deep healing, which I feel like
Oh.
you've just not only been on your own journey, but now are clearly being called, or maybe have always been called, to really bring this wisdom through art, through shamanic work, and so many other things that you're doing, you know? So I'd love to like talk a little bit about some of how that's, I mean, I feel like we've already talked about that, like how it's coming through, but specifically I feel definitely a little called to talk a little bit about art
Okay, cool.
and
Yeah.
healing right
Yeah.
now, you know?
And you used a word that I love before, the territory.
Oh, okay.
I love that word.
Why?
Because it to me, the territory, when we look at healing, to me it's working with a landscape, a territory, our inner landscape, our
Right.
inner territory.
Absolutely.
So it's it's for me, I don't really have a huge explanation around why I like that word, but it resonates with my body.
Nice. Well, I think to me the word and I'll just like jump in on that. Like to me the word territory also just speaks to the complexity of the layers. Like a territory is like just it's a complex landscape, which we each are, and then we are between each other, and then we are with the planet, you
Yes.
know? And it also speaks to boundaries, and it speaks to, I don't know, it just speaks to so
Speaks
much.
to many things.
Yeah, that's right.
Many things.
Yeah.
It's multi-dimensional. It's layered. for
That's
sure.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you lifted that word up. That was
Yeah.
sweet.
I just think it needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and there's so much territory that's been stolen.
Oh.
Right, so that's so in our field right now.
Yeah,
I know it
totally.
is in the States as
Yeah.
we're watching the the decimation of Standing Rock and the protest camps and
Yeah.
the territory that's trying to be held there and what's happening there. So I think, and obviously that's happening all over the planet all the time.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of why it wants to be spoken to.
Yeah, I just want to take this time just to kind of extend my heart out to those people at the moment in the States at Standing Rock, and yeah, send my love and kind of just, yeah, my support. Really feeling that. Yeah. So what was the question?
Yeah, well, we'll see where we go next. So we're going to talk maybe a little bit about, and you can jump in too if you're interested. We can get you in on this stool.
Well, you're American.
Yes, I am American.
You're like the second one I've ever met.
Oh, wow. The second American Lawrence has ever met. That's really...
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you're not Lawrence.
Reece.
Reece, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, totally. We'll talk. Oh, yeah. Well, you're welcome to join.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Well, what's it about?
Well, it's about healing. We're
Oh,
we're talking about healing and land and your mom's journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
Well,
cool.
there's always people watching it.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
handful of people are
Oh,
watching
sorry.
it right now. Nice to have you with us.
Yeah. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's really sweet. So one thing we're going to talk about is, well, I'm open to talking about whatever you want to talk about, but art. It was kind of like, how did art
Oh.
start to come in for
Oh
you?
my god. Art. I love art. Okay, so art started to come in for me about 5 years ago. And I'd kind of gone through all of this stuff, what we were talking about before. And yeah, and then I kind of went on this journey of healing and kind of built a life around trauma. So I re-educated myself, and then I ended up getting a job in education and moving on up the ranks, and I ended up managing 3 small campus sites. And kind of, I was really fit and kind of had quite a slim body and worked out every day, and yeah, and I bought a house. But it got to the stage where I kind of done all the things that everyone expected of me in society. And I just sat down one day and just really felt deeply, hang on, you know, all these people, my mum and my family and all these people that have expectations on me, I've kind of fulfilled that, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy. And yeah, so what actually happened was I relapsed. And yeah, and I used meth for a while, and it wasn't for long, but it was necessary for me to go back to that, because what it did was it stripped everything away from me, everything. And I looked around and I realized none of this means anything. It's an illusion. It means nothing. It holds no value. It holds no stories for me. It's a shell. So I kind of got through the meth thing, and I started, and what I did was I left my job. I quit on the spot.
Wow.
I had no money, and I rented rooms out in my house, and eventually I sold my house, and I had this money and from my house, and I had a choice. Do I want to buy another house, or do I want to invest in myself? And I decided to invest in myself. So sorry, I'm kind of getting off track here, but not long before I sold my house, I was just called to take some paper and to buy a packet of pastels, and to work with the pastels. And I had such a fear about working with art. And it kind of brought all those things up of not being good enough, and yeah, and of not being able to I suppose create a beautiful art piece. And so I decided I'm going to start at basics. I'm going to start with black. So I kind of just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to work with this black, and I started working with the pastels, and I worked with this black, and I connected to the void. It was like, wow, like all of this information just started filtering through my drawing, and I kind of looked at it, and it was very abstract, and turned it around, and I could see all of these different things and beings and faces, and I just started going on this journey with the art, and I left it there, and I created a sacred space for the art, and then a few weeks later, I felt I needed to start on something else, and the Fibonacci spiral come through. And I went for a walk down the beach, and I found this shell, and that kind of come into my sacred space, and I created this Fibonacci spiral, and there were many layers to it, and I realized that each layer I was working with a layer in my life. And I felt like I was it was really cathartic, so I was letting go of a lot of stuff in itself. And so I started to work with art as a way of exploring my inner territory. So I was going through this huge spiritual emergence, and there's no information out there, right? We are pioneers, and kind of, I didn't know how to construct what I was going through and to say this to someone else, because the feeling was so strong, and the experiences of synchronicity and the experiences of kind of being in the right space and the right time and the symbolism of everything, it was just so strong. And my past experiences, that it was just such a deep knowing, but to explain this to other people. So I worked with this art, with this dialogue, with creating, and it kind of works back and forth. And what happened was I was extracting what was on the surface in my unconscious, or my body mind, or my gut mind, or my psyche, or whatever was happening in that moment. And I was extracting that through just feeling and just intuiting the color, intuiting the texture, intuiting where to go, letting go of the mind, and just trusting and playing, and something would emerge. And I let go of the thought of needing to produce anything beautiful, and just felt where to move, felt what color, and something would emerge, and I would leave it in my sacred space, and then I'd go on this entire journey with that for, I don't know, a few weeks, a few months, dialogue with it. And it was a way I could see my inner journey on the outside, and it was extracting what needed to come out quick and fast, and kind of, I was evolving really fast through this dialogue with the art. It's fantastic.
What's so cool about it is that you found your rhythm with it,
Oh
and
my
you
God,
found
yes.
your relationship with the art, which really is yourself,
Yeah.
right? Which is so cool, because so much of sort of, even these days, healing a lot of times it's like, oh, you got to go do it with somebody else. And this is like this incredible opening that you had, that you found your way into naturally by, you had that sort of intuitive, spontaneous, like, I'm gonna go get some pastels and just start. And then all of a sudden it was like, it just sounds like it opened up into you.
Well, and to answer your question about where it started, for those people that kind of, I suppose it would be difficult to just go and get a box of pastels. It starts in your environment, your outside environment. It starts with the symbolism that you're attracted to, the symbolism that keeps appearing in your life.
What do you mean? Like, for people who maybe don't know what that means.
Okay, for example, just have a look around at your house. Have a look at what cools you in your environment. Have a look at the colours that you're using. Have a look what takes your eye. Have a look at the spaces that you create in your house and why you create it. Because everything outside of us and everything we create is in here, and it's being called to be heard. It's something that is prevalent. So I suppose for me, I have in my home, I have a lot of kind of archetypal kind of paintings, and I found that I was constantly creating spaces and then shifting stuff and moving it and creating, and it was almost like this inner shifting and then creating that was going on inside. So I can't credit high enough shrine work and working with shrines in your house, or working with a space.
Yeah, like shrine, like kind of meaning altar?
An altar, or an altar, whatever you want to call it. So that was the start of it. Because
Beautiful.
It
was looking in your environment.
My environment.
What you were already doing, what you're drawn to.
Because your environment is art. When we look outside of ourselves, everything is art. Even if you think you're not artistic, you are, because you're choosing your clothes in the day in the way you feel. No, I want to wear yellow. Yeah, I feel good. I'm feeling happy, and kind of it uplifts me, you know. It's like, okay, cool. That's what's happening inside, you know. Everything that's been created in our society has started with an idea or a feeling.
Right.
We're looking around at kind of all of our inner worlds
Right.
on the outer world.
Right, as we look at each other.
Yeah.
And we look at your home,
Yeah.
your son,
And we look at your shirt, for
my shirt.
example.
Yep. My
You know,
shirt.
this is important for you, this message.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
something you're working with that's externalized.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a place to start is by just looking at your outside territory, looking at your environment, having a look at what calls you when you're walking down the street and you notice a symbol calls you. Well, why does that call me? You know, what is it that in my unconscious is what is it that's attracted to that symbol? It's a part of our inner world expressing on the outside. And there's a reason for that, because there's a doorway that wants to be explored. So what is that room within my psyche, or what is that room within my body? This is interesting. This is the way we get to know self. So we can go to a therapist, and a therapist can tell us what we need in our lives and how our lives would be better, or we can be our own therapists.
Okay.
And we can start with imagery. So next time you kind of find that there's just something that catches your eye, or it could be a felt sense, a really deep felt sense, really just kind of stop and honor that. And perhaps you can create something in your home in just a little space. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. You could draw it, or you could create it in clay, or you could write its name and just put it there with whatever's a candle or something, I don't know, and ask, what do you mean? And just let go of the mind and just allow and see what starts coming about and forming.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you just talked about all that, because I think it's one of the ways that I feel like this whole project wants to really talk to people like you, who can really offer a bit of a path that's, you know, so in ways so obvious, but not so obvious, as far as to get to know self and to self-heal, and to know that we each have the agency to do that with what we have right now.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Yeah.
We are intricately connected to our outside world.
Yeah.
Like we are connected to each other. The thing is we are beings that crave and need connection, and we can start using our outside world to explore our inner territory. And that's the thing. It's we've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years.
Right.
Thousands of years.
Yeah, it's not new.
It's just that the outside territory has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
From where we used to live off the land.
Right.
They were doing it back then.
That's right.
Yeah, totally.
And now we have a little bit more in our psyche of forgetting, like thinking that we're separate.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But it's not so far back that we were one with the land, the birds.
Totally.
Yeah, I know. So we came in. It's like
totally.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gotten a bit off track. Like I keep kind of moving. And
no, it's perfect. No, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
beautiful.
We're so good. Totally. Do you want to add anything? You want to jump in?
I don't know what to say.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, you're welcome. If you do, you can. I just would have you come over here so people could see you. But we're just talking about healing, or what it's been like to watch your mom be in her process around healing and her art.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Okay. No, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you're here, and I just wanted to let folks know that I'm sure they can feel you. So I want to make sure that, you know, you're welcome, and really happy to have you here.
Yeah, totally.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, for sure, for sure. Great. Okay, great. So jump in anytime, though, and we'll flip the camera over to you. So we met through somatic experiencing.
Yes.
So you're sort of on this journey now of adding in, not that you haven't been, because you've been working with your body so intensely for so long on your healing journey. And we've met in this opportunity to learn about how one lens of how to look at, really, is it possible to heal trauma, and is it how to be able to do that, and how to work with the nervous system. And I love that you're combining your deep wisdom of your lineage and art and all the other wisdom that you bring to, and now you're adding this sort of somatic lens to it. And I just was curious if you had anything to say about the addition of that especially since we do often have a lot of somatic experiencing practitioners.
Totally.
So I was really excited for them to just hear, whatever your thoughts are on that.
For sure. Well, what I noticed working with the transpersonal art therapy is that everything comes to the body. Everything goes back to the body. It's like we follow a thread, and it goes back to the body. And clients would express as, I feel a blockage within my stomach or my solar plexus, or I feel a wall inside of me, or they would express in this kind of descriptive language around the body. Or it feels like cloudy in my head, and different things like this, So we worked around different kind of art techniques and kind of healing and sound and aromatherapy and shamanic kind of healing. But then I just knew that I had to go and do body training. I had to work with the body. I didn't just want to focus on something that was, I suppose, just kind of, not just, but I didn't want to focus on something that was directed to kind of one kind of source like massage or energy healing. I wanted something that covered kind of the whole, as much as of the spectrum as the body is what I could get. Because for me, it's an integrated approach. And it was interesting. I called it in, and the tiger kept appearing to me. The tiger was coming into my life quite a lot. And then all of a sudden, and I actually had the tiger on my shrine for a while.
Oh, interesting.
And then, and kind of the tiger represents, you look at the tiger's body and it's really stealth, and the way it moves, and it's connected to sexuality, and it can swim in water, and it can walk on land, and it's fit, and, it's a amazing specimen. Its body is just, wow, it's so amazing and versatile. And then I was on the internet one night, and SE popped up, and the logo for the SE is the tiger.
Totally.
So I thought, what is this SE? and then I started reading about it, and I was like, my goodness, this is exactly what I want to work with. And I didn't know, I knew a little bit about the nervous system, and I kind of just trusted that this is where I needed to go, because it seemed there were so many synchronicities, and kind of this picture was building and forming around me, and I thought, this is what I need to do. So I started following it, and it's now that I realize how profound the nervous system is as another brain, and that we are nervous systems responding to each other, and how it kind of brings back the notion that there is no separation between humans, animals, and when you look at, we are nervous systems responding to each other, and the fight, the flight response, the freeze response, the survival brain, the reptilian brain, and what I realized then also is the fact that how our society and how our experiences in life shape our nervous systems, and how they are molded through that. So I thought that was really cool. I've kind of just been working with it. SE is huge, as you know, and it's a language of itself.
It sure is.
Yeah.
It sure is. What's like one thing, that's awesome to hear all that. What's one thing like we just got out of the training a couple of days ago. Any like aha that you had in the past week?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I'd love just to hear.
Okay. The biggest aha for me was, you're nervous when you're doing the training. You want to wrap your head around all this theory stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Like, the biggest thing for me was letting it all go, and looking at the person like I do in my art therapy, my shamanic work, and looking at the person's body and going, do you know what? This is a highly intelligent organism in front of me. I have no right to discredit it by trying to control this situation with trying to understand where to move with this client. It's like, this body knows what it needs to do to heal. It wants to heal. So I kind of just let go of my stuff and went, do you know what? Show me what it is that you need from me, because I'm here to serve. And that was huge for me. And when I did, it allowed me to really attune with the person, and to be able to follow the sensations and the responses and the movement of their body without any kind of control, which was just beautiful, because what that did is it took us kind of on this journey that was so organic, and kind of in journeying with this person, it allowed me to journey within myself. And I suppose journeying with the person and journeying within myself, what also happened was I would kind of experience things in myself, in my own nervous system, perhaps things that needed to be released, or something that I noticed that I didn't notice before. There was a much more awareness about myself in working with the other person's nervous system. So
sort of more reciprocal than you think it's going to be.
it's like, yeah, it's like letting go of the mind and realizing that, wow, there's this whole other dimension of communications here.
Yeah,
You know?
I do.
It's like far out.
Yeah, for sure.
Whew.
Yeah,
we've only scraped the surface, right, of our intelligence.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And, like, I just love how you named, like, it was so much about letting go of control.
Oh.
Right? And, like, how it, like, not only as a therapist or practitioner, but just in our life, like, how are we showing up and feeling like we need to perform or we need something to happen? And sure, like, directiveness can be very helpful, but there's also an essence of, like, being able to deeply tune in to, like, what's the organic, you know, sort of essence of what's trying to happen here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that the body, which is made up of matter, which is, you know, underneath all of that, which is deep intelligence, kind of really knows how to be, and knows what it needs to do to really, like, it's always moving toward wholeness.
Yeah, it is. It always is. And it's such a shame that we're not educated around this. It's such a shame they don't have this as the curriculum in our schools. Hey?
But it's, like, so
because
obvious.
If they did, my God, things would be so different.
Right.
It's so necessary.
Yeah.
It's so necessary.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that was such a cool aha this week.
And I think, I'm just going to mention this because I feel called to, but
Great.
I think the archetype of the prostitute, when you look at the archetype of the prostitute, and it doesn't mean about selling your body for money, it's very much related to what we're talking about here, about education and how we are trained to and raised in school to not be connected to ourselves, but to give ourselves away and to sell aspects of ourselves so that we can move along and to hustle in the world, you know, pretty much.
Can we slow that down for a minute?
Yep.
Just so that I feel like people can really understand what you're saying, because I think it's really important.
Yes, totally.
So you said the word archetype, which you've talked about a couple times, and I just want to slow that down and like maybe we can just briefly define that. And then when you say archetype of the prostitute, kind of like, what do you mean by that? Like, I know you said it doesn't mean the prostitute, but I feel like maybe people haven't heard that before. So I'd really like to make sure that's communicated.
Cool. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So an archetype is, I suppose, an energy that is expressed. So it's expressed through everything. Like it's a being. It can be an animal. It's the kind of, you look at all the angels. They're archetypes. You look at, I suppose, there's many. There's the queen, the king. There's many different archetypes. And the superhero.
Right.
There's there's kind of the
it's like a pattern
hero.
of energy that has
it's a pattern
like
of energy. Yeah,
that has like a personality to it almost.
Yeah, it does, and it's imbued with all of these qualities.
Right.
And it's carried through our I suppose history and our stories that create the worlds that we live in. So when we see an archetype, we don't need to have a dialogue because we already know what that is.
Right.
And this one image holds very much a lot of meaning.
Right.
So that's an archetype. It's imbued with meaning.
Yes.
So what was the next question?
So you said the archetype of the prostitute,
Yes.
and we were talking about that because we were just talking about how much innate wisdom there is.
Yeah.
And how you were sort of saying if we taught this in schools, you know, that it would be so different and we wouldn't be giving so many parts of ourselves away.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And so when you talk about this sort of energetic of the prostitute, you sort of talk about like that just means for each of us, what are the parts that we're giving away?
Yes. Yeah. So it's looking at the energetic exchange, I suppose, and looking at how we move in this society. And a typical example is a person that works 8 hours per day per week and hates their job.
Right. Okay.
But does it because of this social responsibility, and yet they have this calling, this deep calling that they keep pushing aside. they're giving into that archetypal nature
Right.
of the prostitute, which is to I suppose to sell parts of ourselves so that we can move in the world and we can gain something.
Right.
But we're not honouring our true nature of who we really are.
Right.
So and I really see that our society is, this archetypal nature is very much in play in our society,
Yeah.
very much in play.
Absolutely.
If you have a look at Carolyn Myss, she
Right.
very much talks about the archetypes.
Absolutely.
There's a few main archetypes that appear,
Yeah.
that
you
are,
can really play with them and like come to understand so much about ourselves.
yeah, oh,
Right.
totally.
And what's going on around us.
yes, totally.
Yeah.
And I believe that we are made up of archetypal energies. We're imbued with these archetypal energies. It's cosmology. It's our cosmology. It's what we've created. It's kind of like it's our inner stories, our dreaming that has been created through societies that have been handed down generations after generations. That has created this this, I suppose, the stories and the way that we live and the way that we view the world, the way that we act in the world, the way that we relate to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at play.
Oh, it is a play. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like for me, I'm very connected to the traditional ways and the stories and the dreaming of the traditional ways. But what I realise is through my art, I'm creating my own dreaming. And we're all in the process. This is why we're here, I believe, is to create our own dreaming by going in here, by surfing in here, in this inner landscape, this inner territory, which is actually a universe. It never ends.
Yeah.
There is no end.
Right. And through
There are only series of beginnings and series, I suppose there's many endings, but there's never a true ending.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the ending is always the beginning.
I suppose there's boundaries that we can sense and we move through them and we're at the beginning of something else. We're constantly dying and rebirthing, like the snake who sheds its skin and lives under the earth and comes out.
Yeah. It's the sort of cycle of life.
Yeah.
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 Beautiful.
Yeah.
If there's anything I know about healing or being yourself, it's in that book.
Oh, can you come over and show people?
Do you want to talk
Come
about
here,
what
come here,
you're doing?
come sit. Can we fit?
Yes, totally.
Great. It's Reece, right?
Yeah.
Can we come here and share?
Perhaps you
It's
want
all
to
in
tell
this book,
everyone what you've been doing.
This is Reece, everybody.
Hello.
So he just chimed in that he said anything. What did you say? Anything we should know about healing? We'll find it in here.
Yeah, in this book here. Yeah.
Okay.
From what's his name? Orion
Orion.
Traveller. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
It's a book full of like getting to know yourself and being the future warrior. A lot of people don't actually know understand the meaning of a warrior, but it's a lot different to what a lot of people think it is. Yeah. Yeah. This is just full of healing and being yourself and looking past shame and all that kind of thing. There is no shame or nothing. It's just something made up. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
So when you say it's not really like it sort of sounds like it's like warrior in a different sense.
Yeah.
Can you say more about what your understanding is of that? Like a warrior is?
My understanding of a warrior is to defend the greater good, be responsible, have respect, like self-consciousness, respect yourself and all the people around you, and most of all respect the feminine. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's
Yeah.
powerful.
All them kind of things. Yeah.
All them kind of things that are pretty important on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So where did you get this book?
I got it from a mate, mum's mate. His name is on Facebook, Orion Traveller.
Oh, okay.
If you want to search him up, yeah.
Perhaps you want to talk about the Better Man.
And
Yeah.
the Better Man program, that was good. I went over to Sydney, healed myself, became a better man. Yeah. It
What's
was
like
only-
one thing that you did was like a program?
Yeah, it was like a course kind of thing on being a shaman, or this one's being a warrior. But with us men, we've got to become a warrior before we can become a shaman or anything. Yeah, it's all in a way where it's
Was it with like people your age? Was it all ages?
It was all ages, I reckon. Just as long as you're ready to go do it,
Okay.
then you can go do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And is it rigorous? Is it hard? Is it easy? Is it...
At first, it's real hard to connect with everyone because you don't even know them.
Right.
Like you're stepping into a group of people you don't even know and you're giving them hugs and that. Like. But yeah, at first you're real nervous and it's real freaky and that. But as you get into it, it's just beautiful, eh? Like being out there in the bush, like the bush does its magic on you.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can feel it in your heart when you're doing the healings and that. It's good. Like one of them sayings that Orion says, boy, it's like the longest distance in the universe is the distance between your mind and your heart. Yeah.
True story.
Wow. My son is such a wise being.
Oh my goodness. So sweet to have you both together.
Yeah, totally.
Talking about this clearly.
Yeah.
There's a
totally.
mutual, like you guys get to share and learn from each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good. Reece is learning his language right now.
Noongar tribe, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How is that for you? How's that going?
It's pretty hard because I don't have an elder here to teach me, but I'm learning myself. Like, I've kind of gotten sick of waiting for an elder, so I just sat down, pulled up the web page, and I was like, yeah, let's go.
He's doing really well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So is there no one else, or, I know there's not an elder, is there anyone else around who speaks it?
I don't know, I've never met anyone apart from one person in Mandurah, but I'd
Yeah.
rather not go around them,
Yeah. What's it like to learn the language that you come from?
It's really hard, eh? But at the same time, it's so good that you just want to keep going. Like, I don't know, it's like there's no end to it. There's so much in there. Like, I don't think I'd be able to learn it all before the end of my lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. You just keep going.
Yeah, you just keep learning. There's no end to it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
suppose it's difficult to because Reece he's only just starting to connect to his culture now. We kind of left because of the domestic violence, but it's difficult because now he's introducing himself back into the culture. He's searching for an elder. He's searching for male role models to guide him, and it's really difficult. So now he's teaching himself, and he's kind of calling someone in. But yeah.
Right, like hopefully it's a matter of time before that elder appears.
Yeah.
But you gotta it seems like kind of the part of the warrior is to stick with it.
Yeah, just
Right,
don't
kind
give
of
up.
sort of show that you're serious about the path maybe.
Yeah, I've got to just try not to fall back into the ant world. Be the eagle that flies over the top of it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that. Thanks
Yeah.
for bringing that in. Were there any other guys from around here that went?
No, it was just me. Everyone else
Wow.
was from around Sydney and
Holy
Brisbane.
smokes, that's so brave.
Yeah.
Oh my
Totally.
gosh. Will you go back?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd go back any day of the week.
Yeah.
I'd go back tomorrow if I could.
Maybe
Yeah.
you can become eventually maybe be one of the teachers.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That
Yeah,
would be
totally.
cool.
You
Can
have
see
a lot
that.
to give to the world.
But I'm still young and I'm going to enjoy that.
That's very, very smart. That is some good wisdom right there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Anything else that you think is important that people know these days about the planet or healing or from
I
your
think
perspective?
The most important thing is culture and the environment, the nature. That's more important than an iPhone, a city. That's more important than anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the people your age are in touch with that or?
No,
No.
I've never met anyone my age that is like me. Never. And it saddens me a little bit, Yeah. But I'm trying to be an influence, but a lot of the time they're too ashamed to do that because they're trying to be this image that everyone else wants them to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to learn is I don't need anyone else's approval but my own.
Yeah.
That is so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a page in there it's called The Man in the Looking Glass, and it's a poem, and it's a real awesome poem,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
That kind of speaks to that, like
Yeah.
self-approval.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be
Yeah.
a great way to end if we could read it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Cool.
That'll be beautiful.
It would be. We got everybody here
We
except
do. Tony. Yay.
Lawrence.
Oh, Laurie. We're missing Laurie too, yes.
While he's looking for that poem, I just
Yes,
want to Thanks, folks, for tuning in. There's been a handful, and I know a lot of folks will watch this, but, you know, Australia is just a magnificent place. There's so much beautiful generosity and spirit here, and I just feel so honored to meet you and to have an opportunity to connect with the depth of the knowledge here.
Totally, we love having you here.
Thank you so
Absolutely
much.
Love having you here.
Thank you. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You rock it. You totally rock it.
Thanks, Leah. Thank you for being on.
Does anyone else want to do it? I'm not really good at reading poems.
I think it's.
Or I'll
I
try.
think you're good.
Yeah, I'll try.
And if you wouldn't just speak up just a tiny little bit so everybody can hear you.
Right. This is the man in the looking glass poem. What, mine? Am I on TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, that's sick. The man in the looking glass. When you get what you want in this struggle for self, and the world makes you kind for a day, then go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what the man has to say. For it isn't your father, your mother, or wife whose judgment on you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the guy staring back in the glass. He is the man you must please, never mind all the rest, for he is with you clear to the end, and you have passed your most difficult and dangerous test. When the man in the glass is your friend, you can be like another and chisel a plum, and think you're a wonderful guy, but the man in the glass says you're only a bum if you can't look him straight in the eye. You can fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartaches and tears if you cheated the man in the glass.
Totally.
So
powerful,
good.
Reece.
That's so
Awesome
powerful.
words, man.
Thank you for reading
Thank
that.
you, Reece.
Thanks, Reece.
See everyone.
Reece.
So appreciate it. That was amazing.
Totally.
Y'all, thank you so much.
That's all right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap up, and if there's anything else to add, it's so awesome. What a sweet treat to have you and your boy here.
Yeah.
And, just all the wisdom that's coming through. And I just want to tell folks that Reece was reading from this amazing book called Future Warrior. And I know it's backwards, but I'm just going to flash it so people can check it out.
Totally.
And
And yeah, this is Better Man.
Better Man.
Orion Traveller. He lives in Sydney on the East Coast, and he is a shaman, and he runs shamanic courses, but he also runs a course for men called Better Man, and it allows men to really get in touch with who they are and their anger, to touch their anger and to be able to express that in a healthy way. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Totally.
So www.truthandpower.com.au, Return of the Warrior. So there's
Return
that.
of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi! Whoa! Seriously, some Jedi love right there and right here. You guys, love, love, love from Australia. Thanks so much for watching.
Totally.
Anything else you want to say?
Peace out.
Peace out. Anything
Love
else you want to
y'all.
say?
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Have a good one, mate. All right, we're going to the beach. Bye.